Welcome to the Avert Your Eyes podcast, where we talk with some of the most creative people within North Texas and beyond. I'm your host, Michael Gibson Jr. Just want to give you a heads up that the 2018 Frame for Frame Film Festival is taking place in Arlington, Texas, September 20th through the 23rd. Right now, I'm slated to be doing some of the Q&As following the screenings with some of the filmmakers, but passes are on sale now. And to get yours and to see the lineup of films and music taking place, go to www.frame4frame.org. Also, don't forget, the Avert Your Eyes podcast is giving away copies of the Self-Construction CD by the Wire Rims. Visit avertyoureyespod.com to learn how to get your name in the hat. This episode's guest is Morgana Wilborn. She is a Dallas, Texas native, and by day she is the Director of Education at Dallas Theater Center and Professor of Theater and Humanities at Eastfield and Centro colleges. She is a proud graduate of the University of North Texas, Go Eagles, where she has received a BA in theater, and the University of Houston, where she received a master's in theater education. Morgana is excited to come back to the stage after many years of predominantly being an educator, creative, and admin in the arts. She has recently performed in such companies as in Soul Rep Theater, Cara Mia, WaterTower Theater, and House Party Theater. She is currently on stage performing as Zoe, the title character in Branden Jacob-Jenkins's play called An Octoroon, which you can catch through the end of September 2018 at Stage West Theater in Fort Worth. Be sure to check out episode 11 of the Avert Your Eyes podcast to hear my conversation with Dana Schultes, who is the executive producer over at Stage West. But to learn more about the show An Octoroon or to get tickets, visit stagewest.org. But with my conversation now with Morgana, we discuss her role as Zoe in An Octoroon, being enough, and so much more on episode 34 of the Avert Your Eyes podcast. Consider yourself warned.
I've lived and worked in every part of Dallas. And so, in terms of high school, I went to Townview Magnet. And then I went off to college in Denton, Texas at the University of North Texas.
I ended up going there as well.
Yeah. Studied theater there. And a little bit of education with a minor of, African American studies.
Cool. Mm-hmm. Well, what drew you to UNT?
It was close. My dad went there. It was a way not to be so far from my family and yet away from them at the time.
What did your parents do?
My dad was originally in real estate, but he worked all my life for, it was called West End Cab Company. And then it turned into Dallas Yellow Cab. So he's over operations. And then for beyond 20 something years, my mom has worked at SMU. So yeah, in their learning enhancement department.
Awesome. Mm-hmm. So, and I understand that you're teaching now as well. Could you talk a little bit about what got you into teaching?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so when I came out of UNT, number one, there wasn't a lot of just opportunities at UNT for people of color to perform. It was a select few. And so it's just you kind of gave up on that for some of us. So I got heavily involved with my sorority and, with that, I'm part of Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority. And
I know quite a few of them.
Yes. And so, I learned the importance of education as I continued to study theater. My mentor there, Professor Lorenzo Garcia, he was able to just kind of veer us into the direction of education. And I started having multiple jobs throughout different parts of the city, in community engagement positions and education positions. And then finally I became a teacher in Dallas ISD. So I taught theater from middle school for 8 years. Before becoming the director of education. I was manager of education programs at Dallas Theater Center in 2015. And then I was promoted to the director of education. And at the same time, in the last year, I've been able to have an adjunct professor position in the community college system at Centro, and this year at Eastfield.
Now, going from middle schoolers to college folks, what have you seen has been
I guess, sometimes it's not too different. And then sometimes what's great is that I have such diversity of thought, of individuals in the space. I'll have students that are in their 60s and those who are 19, students from Dallas and from overseas. And it's just a fun group of individuals who are forced to be in one room together and talk about culture or the arts. And they trust me for some reason to be their like fearless leader in this. And for many people, what's great is that, they may not have been introduced to theater, but they can tap into their own knowledge base and culture and bring everything of themselves to the table. Like, nobody falls short in my class. And what I just try to encourage everybody to do is, if you don't know the info, you're going to look it up. You're going to have a voice in the space. You're not going to allow for society to make you feel less than, and that you don't know or can't know, and that you can't be and experience. And so that's the main thing I push. I'm like, y'all, it's not about the grades. It's for the fact that we're going to learn something, and we're going to be able to use our voice to form an opinion about it.
What has it been like for you to go from studying to teaching?
Right. It was, I think education comes easier to me than performing on stage, it's a form of performance in itself, but, I'm a big nerd. I love research. I love anything literary. And so it's just sharing your passion with people, and just to see people learn and engage with you. It's just as magical as if you learn something for the first time, So that's what makes it so enriching. Now people won't care about everything you have to say, but just to be able to share things and then finding commonality between that, a mutual respect and interest in whatever topic. It's great.
Exactly. Now you say that you have the love of the literary. What's your favorite sort of works?
Well, for me, it's like anything from biracial authors. I just have an addiction to that. That's like my main study as I go through life, figuring out what is identity? What does that mean to me? So I love any works from women of color, Black women to be specific. And if they're biracial or specifically Black and white authors, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's great. So it can be nonfiction. I read a lot of nonfiction works. I read, right now, one of my favorite books at the moment is this one called Eloquent Rage, and it's like the Black girl's manifesto. And it's just, I love those books just because it's like, there is another woman in the world that thinks like me, that goes through these moments in life and can look at pop culture, look at history through this Black girl lens that you may think you're alone in unless you're with your girlfriends. But it's yes, to be open and read that. I like experiences. I like books about experiences. And even in the plays that, I read for work on my own pleasure or when I'm in a show, things that speak to true human experience where people have long monologues and stories about, this is my day. This is what I'm really going through. And so I really connect to that. I'm a Pisces. I stay in my mind. So, it's nice, to see, people's intimate moments unfold, within their, whether it's a manifesto, monologue, or just simple memory from their life.
Right. What was it that drew you into studying theater?
My mom, made sure that I was exposed to art and theater at a young age. But it wasn't until, when I went to high school, that's why it's very important that you know what high school I went to, because I went to a science and engineering high school. Wow. I thought I was going to be an engineer. I really wanted to go into computer science. I also loved like sound engineering, and it just all fascinated me. I sucked at math, but, I was able to really get by at this engineering high school. That's where I discovered like one act play and theater. I directed my first show and it won. And
what was the show?
It was, oh my God, it was something I don't even remember. I carried the script. I still have it somewhere, but it was like some really old, like sleuth type of play where it was like, one of those where, kind of like cat and mouse type of setup. Oh God, I wish I remember what the play was, but it's that kind of plot. But it was fun to do. All of my friends chipped in and helped me put this up, because we didn't have a sponsor. That's why I had to direct it, which is very illegal in like high school theater, UIL, because our English teacher was like, I trust you, you can do it. But from there I was like, oh my God, I can do this. I can act. I can direct. And I told my mom, she cried. She was like, you don't want to be an engineer. But literally, she's at every opening night for anything that I do. And then from there, like, I just started trying to learn more about theater. I went to UNT and fell in love with it. And the history of just theater everywhere. And if you just tell me any kind of Black history of anything, I immediately fall in love. And so and also visit these places that I studied over time when I was doing my master's work at University of Houston. Like I just fell in love over and over. And then that was one of the greatest things, just to learn the history aspect. History that can seduce me right away for me of something. And then to be able at moments to put it on its feet, to learn, to experiment with theater in different ways. Yeah.
Now, speaking of history, is there a particular era that you love?
Yeah, like, if it could be just, anything Harlem Renaissance, take me there, take me back to Black, just, and then just like, yeah, I would live there a lot, just seeing how did Black people put shows on, and just in our history of, even in the darkest moments of vaudeville, minstrel shows, like, where was the actor's psyche? Why did they feel like, this is how I have to make a living. This is what I have to do. Like, I would love to know all the key players, and even in more like just throughout culture, throughout time, visiting different cultures, different kings and queens. What was performance and ritual to them? Yeah, but I would definitely start,
Yeah.
Let me start in the Harlem Renaissance. Let me see Josephine Baker. Let me see all the dancers and the actors and the this and the that. Let me see, like, just even like during like Shakespeare's time, like, who are the Black people playing the Moors on stage? I want to meet them, like the first Black actor and all of that. So I would just, where are all the Black folks and how did they perform? Take me there, yeah, that's what I definitely do.
So you bring up Shakespeare. What's your favorite Shakespeare piece?
Oh, easy. Richard III.
Richard III.
That's like, it's just the way that, oh man, he's just so villainized. But I've always feel bad for Richard. I'm like this, everybody's got him pegged wrong. I like tragic to me, he's a tragic hero, you know, in a lot of ways. I also love Hamlet. You know, these tragic
My
heroes.
favorite. Oh.
Richard III, Hamlet, it's like, Hamlet is like, I would say the Hamlet of today is like Kendrick Lamar. Like, if I could see anybody play Hamlet, it would be Kendrick Lamar. That seems really weird, but like when you listen to his music, it's so Hamlet to me. It screams Hamlet. And it's powerful. And he's like, no one's listening to me, but I have all the answers. Like, come on. And so, I don't know, that was like, that's where my mind goes. I'm like, God, I wish I could like put on Hamlet and have Kendrick Lamar as Hamlet. Like, think how beautiful that would be.
That would be
very interesting. It would be so interesting.
Now, I actually did I majored in radio, television, and film when I was at UNT, but I took a class. It was like the study of theater or something like that. And we did a project of, you know, how we would produce a play. And I picked Hamlet and I brought it to the 21st century and put it in a corporate setting. And it works. And so if I ever got the money, the funds to be able to do it, I would love to do it as a movie. Right. But it just works. The whole corporate structure, the, you know, family takeover, just. I
see Hamlet as such a hood story. It's totally not. It's way more goes along the lines of what you said, but I would love to see it in the hood, you know. Like, and that's what's great about Shakespeare though, right? You can place it anywhere, whether it's like corporate, whether it's like looking at, actual, like monarchy or looking at the hood.
But the truth of it, wherever it is, out.
Yes, because it's all about, you know, the essence of the characters. Like, what are they really trying to say? You know, when you take off, the classic representation, you know, it's just like what he says in Speak the Speech, you know, that's what my director always told me, like in this, even in the play that I'm in, because it's like, what are we truly trying to say? What's the real story? What am I trying to evoke to you or get you to learn or buy into? And it's just in the speech, man. And if we look at just how we all speak, whether it's whatever form of rhyme and reason, you know, of rapping, of music, of just like hot urgency, you know, like it's this beautiful rhythm to it, to the tune of whatever's going through in our heads and hearts and what we're trying to get across. So it's a beautiful thing. That's what's great about, you know, classic works like that. How can we put them anywhere? Yeah.
Right. Now, you bring up the play that you're currently in, which is called An Octoroon. And I hadn't heard anything about it prior to hearing that it was coming out. Can you talk about a little bit about the play? And
So, what's real dope about this version is Branden Jacob-Jenkins. He's a Black playwright, which already I'm captivated. I'm a fan of his work just in general, and for him to be a young guy, you know, a young Black gay man in America, it's like, yes, write something. So he takes this old play from Dion Boucicault, I never say his name right, called The Octoroon, which was majored, you know, during his time, 1800s, huzzah. And so he takes it and creates this meta feel to it, story within a story. And a lot of like my lines as the title character, the Octoroon, Zoe is her name, they come from the original text. But then what Branden Jacob-Jenkins does is he throws in his own flair. He throws in himself into the play. So to bring attention to issues of race, of what it means to be an artist of color in writing, and what does it mean to create and recreate works, and where do white creators fall short, and how do we, like, you know, make up for that, what's missing in history in terms of like storyline. And also, like, within this story is this subplot of Zoe and this plantation and the slave masters and the slaves all in it. And he mixes the classic, form of dialogue and language with today's colloquial dialect and language. So you'll hear some of the slaves speaking in like the old colloquial suggested slave dialect that maybe you've read in the slave narratives or seen in movies with Step and Fetch It. Or you will see there's these characters of Dido and Minnie who speak in, what would be like the hood girl type of language, context and things like that. And then there's Zoe, and she's poetic, and she speaks with, it's almost Shakespearean in the way that she has to get her point across, and just kind of like she becomes the ingenue in different ways. So you have Southern belles, you have people who speak specific dialects, everyday language, dialect, speech. It's everywhere. But it really is about holding the mirror up to who we are as individuals in a white America, as people of color in a white America. And have we truly surpassed all these problems that began when we were enslaved, in the diaspora? So and in the midst of it, Zoe's trying to figure out, how do I survive? It's all about survival and acceptance. She's like, I want people to see me, but I also don't want them to see me for this one thing, this one black drop. I want them to see that I'm as accepting as them, but at the same time, I am still black. I can't be ungrateful for my life for that. But I want to be accepted too. I need to survive too. So she's going through all this, and she wants to be loved just like anybody else, She wants to be free to love, free to live.
How is Zoe as a character? How are you most like her?
Oh man. I know that, some people are like, why would Zoe, be so self-loathing? Well, girl, that's how it was. If people are telling you that black people are awful, they're nothing, they don't exist. Well, of course you grew up with, my mom's a quadroon, my father's a slave master. I've got to have some kind of agency here, she knows that one black drop is seen as unclean in the world. So that's the way in which she speaks. It's just like the other characters using the N-word or things like that. Yes, faux pas, awful, it's traumatic, it's trauma, but that is what they know to be true, that is what she knows to be true, that this element of herself is unclean. Did I think that? No. But the idea of identity and acceptance, I love my black mama, I love my white daddy. And at times, my brother, and I would go through, what would be let's go through this year being white. Let's go through this year being black. Ain't nobody believed it because we look all different and weird. But it was just, what is life like when we, try to be all these elements of ourselves? What is it like to be a biracial kid who's black and white? I am both. I am of both worlds, even if, different groups of people in my life didn't see that or understand that. And and it's being accepted. I want to be accepted in my social circles, by, people of all cultures. I want them to see me as Morgana, just like Zoe wants the world to see her as Zoe, that I am a refined lady. Yes, my mama was a quadroon. She is black. I am black. And yes, my dad was also the plantation owner. I have agency in the world. Not that my dad held some grand, or my mom to that esteem, but I respect them. I respect the hard work my dad did and my mother did. And I want them to be seen in me in different ways. So I think that's what I navigate with Zoe. And I also this has been one of those, I don't know if you've ever seen that quote, I am my ancestors' wildest dream. I feel like Morgana is Zoe's wildest dream. Like, to be able to live as she is out loud and to be loved and to like run stuff. You know, I do a lot of great things. My mom had to give me a pep talk before opening and she was like, you're a bad bee. Like, wake up. Like, don't be afraid in front of these, you know, people in the audience, these reviewers, your cast members, your directors. You got this. So I have to remember that for all of my ancestors and elders before me. Like, I got y'all. You know, I got y'all's back. I am here. Everything that you put up with, endured, struggled through, let me hold you up and let me live out what everything you worked for, you know, and honor that. And so I think it's just like, yeah, I see where Zoe is and like, oh, the tragic mulatto. She is the tragic mulatto trope. And which has been one of my favorite characters to ever follow because as a biracial Pisces, well, I've lived that, I'm sure, over and over. But it's been great to just stand firm. Like, I'll play you every night to always remember what my people in every form have gone through. And then I come out of that and I look at my life, you know, and I move forward to make sure to honor like the sacrifices we've made, whether we were dark skinned, black, quadroon, octoroon, you know, whatever, or anything in between. So, yeah.
When it comes to Zoe, what do you feel has been the biggest challenge about taking on that role?
Not playing her. My director, Akeem Babatunde, really wanted me to approach Zoe not with like, she has the mentality of, I am a slave. I had to get out of that. I had to take her out of what I assumed to be, and how she speaks and how she carries herself in the world, which is still not too different in that, like, I have to, you know, we all have to code switch. We have to carry ourselves different ways in different arenas. And it might show up for us, you know, in our posture, in our speech, in our cadence, and just saying nothing at all. And so I had to really take myself out of it and to play her with triumph. You know, how does she take control? It's all about, I am not going to let these white people control me. I'm going to take control of my life. So I had to go into that like, she is not a slave, even though, you know, one would immediately, and she is immediately thought of as a house slave in whatever respect. But she had it's clearly stated she had an education of a lady. Well, if black people weren't regarded as much at all, what is a lady? Oh, a white woman. Oh, she was educated. Slaves weren't educated. You know, and the slaves specifically say that in the play. And she talks about her father in reverence to her, like with great reverence and with reference to her, and how in it she sees some sort of power for herself. Like, her position has power. And so I had to carry that with me and then just delivering it. Like, all of it, she has urgency to protect her plantation when it goes up for sale and her father's memory. She has urgency to make sure that she gets her free papers. She has urgency to make sure that, you know, she does not get sold to this awful man, McCloskey. And so I had to, what is urgency with control and triumph? And what does it look like when you're losing it all, but you're trying to keep it all together? So that was so hard for me because I'm one of those that will fall out. I will cuss you out. I will explode. How do I keep the control? How do I win triumphantly, even when winning means taking my life?
Do you find it easier to play a character on stage or to be yourself on stage?
That has always been my big dilemma, because I think that it always starts for me. The conflict starts with my voice, because I think I hear something and I speak a certain way that many other people may or may not hear. They're like, Morgana, you already have this deep, raspy registry, like speak there. And I think I think they feel that I'm going to be this like sultry, deep, grounded voice. But when I get excited, I get loud. I get high. My inflection goes up. And it's like, why is your voice going up? That's what happens when emotion, runs through my body. It does not stay here. That's what happens when I'm completely calm. So my conflict begins there. It's still like playing myself, but I'm like, well, what do you want from me? They're like, speak as Morgana. This is speaking as Morgana. It's way up here, and it still has this hint of a baby voice from my past that I can't get rid of. So it's fun to come out of that, because it still trips me up. It still goes with the idea of how people see me and how I see myself. And when I get to play someone else, I get to try to understand them. And it's a fun challenge when you take yourself out of it and you understand someone else, which is what we don't do just in everyday living. We don't take ourselves out of the equation. It's like, well, I think, or I usually do. It's like, it's not about me. So that's the fun challenge I love, rather than just being myself.
Now, when you're in a character such as Zoe, and you're with her for a period of time, this one, I'm sure over a month, several months, that you study and work with this. How long does it take you to pull out from that, or do you ever?
Right. I found myself, some days at work, I'm going to try out Zoe. Like, what if I have control? Some roles, I end it immediately, cause I'm like, I don't want to deal with that anymore. And some roles, they kind of stick with you. It just depends, cause you're used to carrying your body a certain way and being a certain way. And after a while, it's like, let me get rid of her. Let me get rid of this person. I've played, different characters where some have had cancer. Some have been Zoe or some biracial girl. Or even some sci-fi type of, elder mother that just moves and dances. I've, letting go of them. I keep them with me wherever I go, but I also need to let them go because it's a lot of energy, just to try to hone in this person and understand them. When I'm backstage, I immediately try to go prepare myself with that moment before, and I have to live in their world. And people pass me and they're just laughing, look at you doing weird stuff. I'm like, child, I have to, otherwise I won't be ready on stage. And every actor is different. Some take it too far and all of that. And some they are able to just go on stage and hit it. So I'm somewhere in between.
So what is your ritual right before you go on stage?
A lot of fun with my castmates. A lot of laughter, a lot of steaming my voice, warming it up. I sit backstage and I'll have a lot of downtime backstage. I have to be ready literally backstage and not in the dressing room at some moments so that I can go out and sing or jump out during a line. But I'll run over my lines over and over and over and over and over because it's just so much. And your tongue and your mouth has to get used to it on the drive from, Dallas to Fort Worth, going over it, warming up my voice. Sometimes I just have to sit down because the initial scene where we come out and we all don't speak, but we show ourselves, it's like, oh, here we go again. I'm about to perform. So I just have to breathe sometimes. Just sit my butt down and breathe. And it just depends. And after I go through the show, I'm in it and we're all in it and we're laughing backstage and laughing at our favorite lines. But at those initial beginning points, it's like, let me breathe. let me go over these lines. Let me laugh with you. And let me just do some yoga in the back real quick. So it's different from show to show and cast to cast and character to character. And this one, I think I have to prepare myself a little bit more just to give her all that I got.
Now, either for yourself or your students with you teaching, what do you feel is like one of the pitfalls that people fall into when it comes to trying to act or take on a character?
Just in taking on the character is just not, for me, going through this process, which has been challenging, not listening to the character and what are they truly trying to say, not falling into a type or anything like that. I got to get out of my own head. You know, I'm a scholar first in my heart. So like I do so much research and that can inhibit you when the script just asks you to be like, just speak the speech. So that's the thing for all of us is get out of your head and just get into your body. My, friend and one of my fave actresses, Christy Vela, who's a major actress in Dallas and director, she always says, you know, you're enough. That's it. Just come out. Just play the action. Just be enough. And, you know, I have to sit with that in my head. You know, like Christy would say, be enough right now. You know, she always says that to her young students. And I carry just these simple lessons, which are hard for us to take into my body. And, you know, King gives me the same message, like, as we went through the process, like, just say it. Just like, this is what she's going through. Just play that out. You know, play out these actions. Get out of your head. Stop worrying about being a good actress or how good or bad you are. That doesn't matter. What matters is that you're playing this moment. Stay in this moment. And so that's something that I'm always going to have to get myself out of the heady moments, the head, and into the body, into the moment, you know.
Now, when you aren't acting or teaching, what sort of stuff do you like to do for fun?
Love hanging with my friends and my family. I also am a photographer, so I am like a hustler. I'm a big hustler. I love a work ethic. So I have multiple jobs. I'm always telling my brother, I'm on job number 3, man, right now. So I love photography. So when I'm not in the classroom at Dallas Theater Center or on stage, I'm doing that. I love just going to arts events. I love supporting my friends on stage or whatever project they're creating. If they're painters, if they're sculptors, if they create ceramics, like I want to be a part of that. Especially if there's like women creators involved. Like, girl, let me know what you're doing. I love my DJ girlfriends who are rocking it. I love to go dance to their music. I love to just sit and read my books, hide in my bedroom. There was one day my brother was here and he texted me at 9 at night. He was like, I haven't seen you all day, but I love you. And it's like, I'm just hiding in my, you know, corner of my house. But like, you know, I want to get back to traveling again. Like when I finally got to go to my sorority sister's wedding in Jamaica, I'm like, I forgot how much I love to travel and how much I love to be with my people. And it was just like beautiful. We had a Wakanda night and just having fun, you know, because I work so much. And a lot of times I just like to stop and laugh at work. My friend Gloria and I have this time during like 4 or 5 o'clock where we just stop everything and we crack jokes. And it gets on everybody's nerves, but it brings us joy. Like, I just love to stop and laugh. I love to laugh. I love to laugh at people. I like to be laughed at. Even if it's embarrassing, like, I love joy and I want to surround myself with it. And if I'm not, that I need to go out and get it. I need to create it.
Exactly. That's probably one of the biggest reasons why I ended up creating this podcast, is to just sitting down with people and hearing their story. Everybody's got a story, but sharing in the joy of hearing them talk about their passions. It's, people have reached out to me, oh, well, can't we Skype? Personally, no, because I want to be in your space.
Experience. Yeah. Yeah, and that's why I'm, with all the sound effects I've given you today, this is where I'm working from. And it's fun and it's crazy, but that's a gift, and especially what you're doing and with the podcast is being in someone's space and listening in on everything they experience in their life. And that's the beautiful thing that people get to see that we deliver on stage night after night. They get to experience all this lovely, set design, sound effects, this lighting, these stories, this direction, these human beings playing these random characters on stage. And then we take these stories with us as actors and we laugh about it. We're like, that is so crazy and ignorant and smart and everything.
Well, what sort of stuff makes you laugh?
Oh man, just mistakes. Mistakes make me laugh. Poking fun at nature. There's this little meme my friend sent me, and it speaks to women of color today. Right now, it's Pocahontas. Half of the meme is the white men are bringing us down, and then the other half is Pocahontas kissing John Smith, and it's things like that, the reality of the situation. What are the things we stand for, and also me, it's these are the things that I love to laugh at, irony of the situation and how we live our life. How we stand for things, and we also give into the heart of life and the things and the people we love. I love watching my nephew learn and make mistakes and do weird stuff. It kills me. Babies are great. Kids are great. I love to laugh at them. I love to laugh at the old stories of my elders and my grandmothers. It's hilarious, and just absurdities. I love everyday absurdities, whether it's on screen and in real life. I just love absurd stories, absurd moments. Yeah.
Yeah, me personally, I love the absurd. If I could label myself as a follower of a particular religion, I would consider myself, I would create one and call myself an absurdist.
Oh, yes, yes. If Monty Python had a true, religion, which I'm sure there is somewhere. It probably is. It has to. Everything does. I would want to live within that absurd, ironic parody of life religion because it's just slapstick, ridiculous, and awesome. And I always love going back to Monty Python's Camelot, and with me being named Morgana, the whole story of Camelot is everything. And Monty Python, that would be my life. Let me live in the Monty Python Camelot as Morgana, and it's just absurd moments. And if Steve Carell could like pop up and do a scene, like I would be living my best life.
Yeah, he is a talent. Now, what sort of stuff doesn't make you laugh?
Yeah, just people who people who just don't get it, who don't understand truth, who don't understand the lived experience. We all I have a lot of patience for people who are learning new information. I don't have patience for those who expel incorrect information and who try to force their opinions on others. I don't like just oppression, and when people feel that oppressive moments are hilarious or whatever, even like taking us back to the ages of blackface and vaudeville and minstrel. Like in our show, we're using it as a tool, the playwright uses it as a tool to hold a mirror up to nature. And the audience is like, should I laugh or not? But in real life, what are our modern day minstrels? When we take, even, black performers who had to be a part of that, not even looking at that, not looking at black people, but who are these minstrels out here in politics and, in life that are just making a mockery of people and of things? And yeah, I don't find it funny. I don't find people who aren't willing to understand experiences, whether it be the queer experience, the black experience, the trans experience, the Muslim experience, like, don't find you funny.
Who inspires you?
Oh, my mama. Definitely. Her strength, the way she looks at the world, the way that things give her so much delight. I think I'm gonna cry just thinking about it. Like, my whole existence, and I tell my friend, Chris this all the time, who's a member of the cast, like my whole existence, like acting, performing, living keeps my mom alive. And I don't know why I think that, but I feel that. And if I can keep this beautiful black woman alive with everything I do, like I hope there's a young black girl, mixed girl, woman of color, elder woman that sees the work that I do, feels inspired, or sees the work that we do as people of color and feels inspired or feels pride, feels delight, feels joy. 'Cause it's more than me. It's what we're all doing. Me, you, everybody who's working hard to be our ancestors' wildest dream, And so my mom inspires me to keep doing it.
What has been your most memorable experience on the stage?
Probably, I think my most memorable experience has been when I was like little, like in elementary school acting. And I just reference like how bold I was to do that and how much fear over the years, like that I had not been on stage for like over 10 or 15 years. And then I go back to that little girl. I'm like, if she can do it, I know your behind can do it. Go to that audition. Say yes. Go out there and do it. Even if this director is like bringing you down. Go back to that little girl who performed in the Great K-pop tree in elementary school. Like, I just go back to her, to like get me going. Because it all can get to you, like, do I belong here? Am I good? Like, I'm like, if that little girl can do it, and I remember all in how it felt. I remember the stage. I remember the auditorium. I remember my costume. I remember my big glasses I wore. And like somebody said yes, that I could play this character. That's the most memorable to me because that's what brings me to come on the stage every day.
How do you define happiness?
I am happy, waking up and experiencing God's grace, whether it's these sounds we're hearing, my nephew laughing or saying things, breathing, sometimes just taking a shower, cleansing my life is happiness. For me, I'm one of those goal-getters, so I'm like, if I achieve that, if I can do this, but then I'm most happy. That gives me more stress, trying to achieve all these goals. I'm most happy when I come home and I lay down and I'm like, let me watch this episode of Handmaid's Tale or Insecure. Like, I'm real joyful. Like, If I pull a plum out of my refrigerator, I'm like, ooh, it's about to be real good. It's real nice. My friends laugh at my friend Gloria and I. We always say real excited, or this is real nice. And it's usually like when we're about to eat a good meal. But like, these are the little things that make me happy. Like when I just sit back in silence and watching my friends laugh, I'm in such happiness. Like, I'm like, Lord, if you could keep me clean with a roof over my head and I can laugh with all these great people around me, I'm happy.
Yeah, me personally, like I try to, and people who listen to the podcast and heard me spout this numerous times, but throughout the course of the day, if I hit 3 things that I know that I've had an awesome day, is have I learned something? Have I done something for somebody else? And have I laughed?
Amen.
And if I hit those 3 things.
That's a good day. That's a real good day. I'm going to keep that in my pocket. Like, have I learned? Have I done something for someone? Have I laughed? That's a real good day.
What has acting taught you through the years?
A lot of patience with myself, with other people, to shut up and listen, to be fearless, to raise my voice, literally, and to speak out, and to enjoy not knowing what the heck I'm doing most of the time and not being in control of that. Just letting go, just learning. Acting is such a tool for learning, to learn. And I want to learn. Acting is a vessel for me to take in new knowledge. So, yeah.
Now, in regards to being fearless, like, how do people, like, attain that?
Ooh, to be fearless is to do, To be fearless is to jump out, get out of your own way and jump out. To be fearless is not to listen to the little voice in your head that says, no, can't, shouldn't, wouldn't. And, once you just step out and say yes, it's like the old improv rule, Yeah. Yes, and. You have to, being fearless is saying yes, and. What else? Yes, and being willing to keep going. And also being fearless means to set boundaries and say no. And in all this saying yes and, I've been able to finally say, okay, I don't need to say yes. I can say no. And people will still be in my corner. People will ask me to do something in the future. It's not going to end. This life I'm beginning, truly, is not going to end if I say no to this one project.
How do you define success?
Success for me is, did I make my mama smile? Did she laugh? Did she have an opinion? It always starts with my mama. And then, what did I learn from that moment, that I created for myself? How did I engage with other people? Did I learn something from them? I'm all about learning. Like, success is learning something, no matter how much money I made or what new opportunity has come my way. What have I gotten from it? Has it shaped me? Have I changed? To me, success is change, handling the good and the bad. And what have you learned from that? And at the end of the day, did my mama enjoy it? Did she like my decision? No. But my mom would be like, girl, that's your life. But it all also rests am I happy with the decisions I've made, and do, as much as I want my mama to take pride in me, do I take pride in myself and the decisions that I've made? That to me is success.
And then lastly, what would you tell your younger self?
Oh, girl, don't worry. It's going to be great. Don't cry. Don't be scared. Speak up. Don't hide. Like, don't let anyone talk about your hair. Don't let anyone tell you that you need to look this way, that way, or another. You got this. Like, girl, you got this. You are a bad bee. My little self would be like, don't call me that. But trust me, it's a good thing for the future. And when people tell you to shut up because you talk too much, don't. But also listen at the same time. Know the good boundaries in that. When to speak up and when to listen. And don't get so angry all the time. You're going to get your way. You just got to wait a little bit.
Is there anything else that you want to say?
I really hope that, everyone goes to see Octoroon, that you really take the time to sit and listen to the story, all of the stories. There's so many stories for all the individuals, Black, white, Latino, everything in between, and for man, for woman, listen to the stories and listen to the history and think, are we still living these traumas today? And I just want to impart for people to begin to listen to everyone's experience and be open that how people believe and live in the world and see things is not how you may live, but you got to respect that, and you got to, try to understand it with respect and love. And yeah, find joy today. What you gonna laugh at?
Morgana, thank you so much for sitting down.
Thank you. It was a pleasure. And thank you for enjoying all the sound effects and my special soundscape that I created for this podcast.
Not a problem. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's the podcast. Thanks again to Morgana Wilborn for sitting down with me. You can follow her at Morgana Daloon on Instagram, and be sure to see her on stage through the end of September 2018 at Stage West. For tickets, visit www.stagewest.org. Keep up with the Avert Your Eyes podcast, or check out past episodes by visiting our website, avertyoureyeспod.com. There you will find everything you need to subscribe to the podcast, with links to Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Twitter, and Facebook. And don't forget to leave a comment or review. Thank you so much for listening. I'm Michael Gibson Jr., and until next time on the Avert Your Eyes podcast, consider yourself warned.